a very giant red flag because there are some very suspicious activities going on with Kate Middleton. If you don't know who she is, I'll just give you a really brief update. She is the wife of William, Prince William, who is essentially set to be the king. So, this is the future Queen of England we're talking about. And there have been a lot of interesting things culminating in the past couple of months. So, back in the day, I used to be all over the mainstream tabloids on what was going on with the royal family. And specifically, I would look behind what the mainstream was saying to really better get an understanding of the truth. What's really happening? What is the cover up here? And so, what I'll say is that if there was nothing going on, I would be very open and very honest, as I've been many times before, about saying, look, this was completely blown out of proportion. There's nothing going on. It's no big deal. Let's just go ahead and move forward. That is not the case. There is a lot going on behind the scenes with poor Kate Middleton, and we're going to get into it today. So put on your tinfoil hats and let's get into it. Of course, if you are new here, welcome to the team. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on the bell for notifications to be alerted for the next one. If you are sick and tired of ads on YouTube, please keep in mind that every single one of my YouTube videos can be found ad and censorship free on my website. All you have to do is sign up, give your email, and they're free, okay? So please check that out if you don't want to deal with YouTube ads. All right, so what exactly is the mainstream narrative surrounding Kate Middleton? Let's just go ahead and talk about that first, and then I'm going to tell you about my remote viewing experience with her today, which is pretty wild. So we're going to get into that. Okay, so here's kind of the narrative, right, that's been going on. The last known sighting and recording of Kate Middleton was actually in church during Christmas. So we're talking December 2023. So it's been a little while, right? It's been, 3 months-ish. There has been a recent sighting, and we're talking in the last, two or 3 days. And so Kate Middleton and William were sighted at the farm store, I guess it's called the farm store, which is just down the road from the Windsor Castle. There was no media, there were no photos taken. However, there were eyewitnesses to seeing her, and all of the eyewitnesses were interviewed, and they all said, well, Kate looks happy and healthy, and she was smiling and interacting, and everything seemed totally normal. All right. So apparently there was a surgery. It was some sort of abdominal surgery in January. And so the reason for her disappearance or her not really being seen in the public is apparently because of this surgery. Even the staff at the castle and at their home has not seen her, all right? Now, before the sighting at this farm store in the last couple of days, there was a photo that was posted, I believe, to her own Instagram page saying Happy Mother's Day in the UK, and it was of her and her kids. However, upon closer inspection of this photo, it is very clearly photoshopped. I mean, I'm not like a graphic designer by any means, but to me, it kind of looks like an AI generated image. The hands are always kind of weird, and there's just a little, the kids are almost like too smiley. I don't know. There are some very, very bizarre things. Like we're talking like conspiracy theorists or people who don't even believe in conspiracies are all saying that this photo is really bizarre, that she's saying is this brand new photo and everything's fine and she loves her kids and Happy Mother's Day. So that really just triggered the conspiracy even further. She hasn't been seen. She had some weird surgery, and then now all of a sudden there's this very weird photo that has clearly been photoshopped. And then, because of all of the stir and the craze that was created by this very weird photo, she came out and said, I was just playing around with Photoshop. I'm sorry, but the future Queen of England is just playing around with Photoshop? I highly doubt she knows how to put together a photo like that. Yeah, it wasn't done well, but there's no way. There's no way. Ridiculous, okay? So it's just like it's stirring the pot even more. All right. Now, here is the current conspiracy that people are talking about, and it's important to mention this. So apparently, Prince William slash future king, has a mistress. The mistress's name is Rose Hanbury, and the current sort of conspiracy update is that Rose, the mistress, is pregnant and she doesn't want to give up this baby. And this is part of the reason why Kate hasn't been seen, which I objectively don't know why, a mistress and Kate not being seen. I don't know why those two things would be connected. I think for quite a few years now, it's been known that Prince William has been having an affair with Rose Hanbury. Like, that's kind of a very well-known sort of thing. So, but it's a part of it, okay? It's kind of sad too because Diana, had the same experience with her husband, cheating on her. Anyway, all right, so that's kind of what the mainstream is saying about this. Let's talk about what I remote viewed. Now, especially if you're new to the channel, let me remind you, I am a remote viewer. I remote view through trance meditation. So essentially, I get into a deep state of meditation. I separate myself from the current present reality, even my current present body. And within that space, I can really go anywhere I want to go and take a look at information and even remote view politicians, celebrities, and royal family members. So here's what happened when I tried to remote view Kate Middleton. Now, this next part is like pretty crazy stuff, all right? So as always, take it or leave it. If it resonates with you, it's for you. If not, no big deal, all right? Because it is pretty wild. I got out of my body. I set an intention, so I set an intention for who I want to go see, and usually I will go right over to that person, okay? And now typically royal family members are heavily guarded. Like they will have basically like energetic bodyguards around them. And celebrities have that too. But what was really weird was that I couldn't find her. I could not find her. She wasn't anywhere. All right. So it took me a little while. I was searching, looking for her, couldn't find her. I went to the castle. I even went to William, found him, lots of dark stuff around him, but I couldn't see where she was. I was actually really confused. So what I had to do was that I took a huge step back. Typically, I can find someone and then with their higher self permission, I will be able to read their information and even backtrack in their life as well, like look at their Akashic Records. Because I couldn't find her, I wasn't able to do that. So I took a step back and I spoke to her higher self, her spirit guides, and I took a look at her contracts. And then I took a look at her Akashic Records. Instead of finding her, the human, I had to find like her energetic counsel, I guess, and then ask permission to gain access to information that way. So I just had to do it a roundabout way. So I did. I took a look at her Akashic Records. Now, here's what I picked up on. Once again, take it or leave it. Something happened in December. Something happened in December, and I wasn't sure what it was. I don't know, but it felt like the straw that broke the camel's back. It's like Kate has been playing this game of, yes, I'm going to be the perfect wife, and I'm going to be the perfect royal family member, and I'm going to be so perfectly suited for this role, and everyone loves me, and there's drama happening in the royal family, but it's not around me because I'm fitting this image, I'm fitting this role. However, something happened in December that was kind of that straw for her of saying, I'm done. I'm done with this. And I'm not sure if it was the affair with William. I'm not sure if it was because his mistress got pregnant. I'm not sure if that was what triggered it or if it was something else altogether, but I couldn't see what it was. I don't know what it was, but there was definitely like an intensity of an emotional reaction. And she was like, I am done. And not only did she say, I am done, but she threatened to take the kids with her. I'm done with this family, I'm taking the kids, and I'm leaving. Now, if you know anything about the English royal family, you'll know that there's been a lot of controversy. There's been a lot of drama. And essentially, the royal family did not want another scandal. Okay. This is where it gets weird. How do I even say this? I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. It's going to sound crazy. All right. So I'm like taking a look at this like build up, and then all of a sudden I'm transported over to this facility is what I would call it. It looked like an underground facility, no windows. And I saw, what do I call them? Like giant machines that look like there were bodies inside these machines, okay? And the word that came through was like cryogenic. Like it was like a cryogenic facility with people who were cryogenically frozen. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? And I see Kate Middleton. That's so crazy. I see her times 3. Yeah. So, essentially, after her blow up in December, they decided that it was time to get rid of her. And they took one of these copies, clones, if you will, out of this facility, which is interesting. And I've like got a whole other story about these facilities. So like in that moment, I'm like, oh, I guess every prominent royal family member has a certain number of clones. I wouldn't be surprised if there were celebrity figures or even politicians that also had like backup clones. And anyway, so after they took her out, okay, they basically got one of these clones out of this facility and they needed to start programming this clone. And that's when they made up the surgery in January. There was no surgery in January. That was not a planned thing. That was something that they had to basically stall the masses of, yep, she's going to be in recovery. Like, don't worry about that. And then I saw like posted an AI image to keep people at bay. And obviously that backfired on them. Oh yeah, and then basically this whole like being seen by witnesses at the farm store with William in Windsor, like just outside of Windsor. They were like taking the clone out in public, but not like a documented space. So it's like they were like testing the clone. Like they were bringing this clone out and saying like, can she pass in a public space? Which is, yeah. So it was like after that photo blew up and people were like, no way, like something weird is going on. They basically had to push the testing and push the release of this clone earlier rather than later. And like I said, witnesses say that she looked happy and healthy. And once again, I saw that they have been programming the clone. Now, I just want to I'm going to give you all of the signs of what to watch for when taking a look at clones of individuals. I want to tell you 2 things about clones and how I first came across the idea of the fact that clones are a real thing. So this was back in 2010, all right? This is long before anyone was ever talking about this topic, not to mention I wasn't doing and really don't do any external research. I was told at a young age that if I was going to gain access to any information, it had to be straight from the source. I'm already dealing with my own limitations and perception. So In 2010, I was 19 years old and I was remote viewing for the first time. I was super into conspiracies and different agendas and taking a look at the dark side, and these dinosaur beings is what I called them back then. I didn't have a name for them. And I was really obsessed with remote viewing military bases because specifically I wanted to know what the American government was doing. What are they up to? What are they doing in these remote facilities? So I went to the Antarctic base, I went to Area 51, I got kicked out of a couple bases, got myself into some tricky situations, learned a lot in the process. But one of these bases that I went to, and it wasn't Area 51, but it was in the desert, I could almost pinpoint it as like an Arizona type of location. This is a military base that I don't think anyone really ever talks about. So I ended up at this underground facility, this underground base, and I'm taking a look around, and same thing. There are all of these machines all over the place, and there are these humans in these machines that are like frozen, like cryogenically frozen. And I wasn't sure what I was looking at. I wasn't sure if this was like some sort of hybrid programming, if they were like genetically just like creating humans. Like I wasn't sure what they were doing there until I saw copies, okay? Like the exact same person from one machine to another, like multiple versions of people. And I'm like, I was so confused. I was so confused because I had never even heard about cloning. I thought it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And I definitely never, ever, ever wanted to go online and say that this was a real thing. Now, keep in mind, that was 2010 that I originally saw that. I didn't even get onto YouTube and start talking about the information that I was gaining access to, never saying that I was a remote viewer, never saying I was talking to extraterrestrials until 2016, okay? 2016. And even then, I'm like, I'm just a spiritual teacher. Like, you know what I mean? Never telling people how I gain access to the information. So that was a long time of like, and now I'm even like surprised I'm saying it now because it does sound so crazy. Anyway, that was my first experience with cloning. And when I started exploring this concept of cloning a little bit more, I understood that the first, and once again, take it or leave it, okay? But the first public clone to ever make an appearance was Michael Jackson, okay? And there were multiple, I want to say 6 or 7 different Michael Jackson renditions, clones. And part of the problem with the Michael Jackson clone is that the more, so, and I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biologist, but essentially they will take a DNA, right? They will create a clone from that DNA, and then they'll basically get it to term or however they do that. And then if they clone, if they create another clone from the clone's DNA, the DNA starts to break down, okay? And this is what we ended up seeing with this Michael Jackson clone, is like it just got worse and worse and worse. It just broke down more and more and more as the years went on. And of course, I mean, Michael Jackson, like he was a starseed. I mean, he was trying to make the world a better place, and he was speaking out against the industry. So of course they wanted to replace him. All right, so let's just briefly talk about the signs of a clone. As always, guys, take it or leave it. I mean, I did not expect to check into Kate Middleton and talk about clones. All right. So, signs of a clone. The face usually doesn't match. Like at first, and they're getting better with clones. They're getting way better. They're getting so good, in fact, that if you were to take like an AI generated, or sorry, not AI, like a face scanning recognition, that face would be recognized. So they are getting much better. You know, they've come a long way since Michael Jackson, which is insane. But there are like little tiny differences within the face. And I believe that a big, huge agenda with cloning, okay, a back end agenda with cloning is, what is it called? Surgery, plastic surgery. It's plastic surgery, right? Why are the celebrities pushing plastic surgery? Oh, because whoever's face looks a little bit different. It's got to be a nip tuck. It's got to be a plastic surgery. It's got to be a new nose. It's got to be, and look at that agenda really coming out with Michael Jackson. Why does he look different? It's vitiligo. It's plastic surgery. He's got a new nose. He doesn't like who he is. So, of course, he's going to change himself and look different. And that narrative has continued to seep into mainstream so that we just kind of chalk it up to plastic surgery. Like, I get it, whatever. Also, things like signs of a clone. Please look out for this with Kate Middleton. Birthmarks and tattoos, some of the time, do not match, all right? They just don't match. Sometimes they don't get it right, or they will redo a tattoo and put it in like the wrong place if you compare images. Oh yeah, so then there are glitches that happen with clones, and this used to happen all the time in the past, and like I said, I think that they're getting a little bit better, and I think that part of the issues with the glitches in the clones is the programming, right? Like they're programming in a personality, they're programming in memories, they're programming in a certain way of being based on the person who they were. And so this programming, like the wires can get crossed sometimes. So sometimes you'll see a clone freeze. Like literally, just like on like live TV, it'll just like freeze up and then ooh, and then kick back in. Like it's pretty weird. Things like stumbling, like physically stumbling. Also fainting is a pretty good sign of a clone. Stuttering. Now, of course, like there are people, celebrities, whatever, who do stutter, who do faint or have health issues or what have you, but just some things to look out for. Extra handlers is usually always a good sign of a clone, okay? Typically, they will have extra bodyguards around them, and these are people who are very aware of the glitches and the things that can happen and will step in pretty suddenly to remove them from the public. And then there's typically like still appearances with the clone, but there's less less engagement. So yeah, so I'll just briefly mention that one of the benefits, okay, to the powers that were of cloning is that there's more control. They can literally control this being, this entity, this thing. They can control it completely. Especially Kate, she was pretty defiant. She would play the game, but she was completely defiant, and whatever happened in December was that breaking point for her. And then the drawbacks to cloning for the powers that were, okay, are more maintenance, right? There's way more maintenance, way more breaking down, way more like need for handlers, way more observations, like way more maintenance, right? Anyway, so that's it. I know it sounds absolutely batshit mad, and I did not expect to take a look and see all of that. And something that I'm going to do just on my own free time is I'm going to make sure that she's okay and that she crosses over, because I did not see her over on the other side. And I mean, typically that means that she's kind of in the in between. So at a soul level, I want to make sure she's fine. Anyway, so that's it. That's crazy. It's weird. It's wild. I mean, take it or leave it, but really pay attention to the signs of clones and see if there's anything else with Kate that you can really spot that might be a little bit weird moving forward. All right. Just a reminder, this video is totally ad-free on my website, elizabethapril.com, and if you enjoy this content, there have been multiple videos that were taken down on YouTube that you can absolutely find on my website. Check it out today. Thank you all so much for being a part of the team. Bye for now.